Right, so we now move on to chapter 37, As-Saffat. Chapter 37 is very, I would say, almost one which drums up the passion of the reader in the struggle, the Islamic struggle, which is the struggle to establish al-haq, truth and justice. Um, this chapter is it mentions a series of messengers, and the narratives regarding the messengers is very unique. Well, all the chapters are unique, but this one especially I think stands out in the sense that it's very proclamative. In the proclamation is extremely strong, and as we will soon come to see, it starts with "wasaffati saffa." So by the ones who arrange themselves in ranks. So it's almost a very confrontational like thing. Fal zajirati zajra. So they are the repellers for repelling. They're repelling evil. Yeah. Fal taliyati dhikra. So they are reflecting or practicing a dhikr. As we see, a dhikr mentioned before, Quran Mubin. Yeah. And their central message, Inna ilahukum lawahid. Verily, your God is one. رب السماوات والأرض وما بينهما ورب المشارق. He is the Lord of the heavens and the earth and all between them, and the Lord of the risings. It's in plural, so it's very quite interesting there how it goes. Next, it continues with a general discourse of the confrontational between good and evil, and that continues for quite long as well. It's about 60 verses long, until we come to verse 75, which talks about Nuh, and Nuh called to his Lord. So this is the beginning of the narrative section of the Quran. Narrative section of this chapter, and here we can see the pattern which is being used for Nuh. It says, "Salamun ala Nuh fil alamin." Peace be upon Nuh among the worlds. Inna kathalika najzil muhsinin. Verily, this is how we, like that, we reward those who do good. Innahu min ibadina al-mu'minin. Verily, he was of our servants, the believers. So he was our believing servants. So this is the pattern which is being used in the narratives. It continues with Ibrahim. That's in verse 83. Ibrahim continues with the confrontation with his father about the worship of one God, and that continues all the way till it's a bit of a long verse, and Ibrahim's son is included, his submission to Allah, and then in verse 109 it says Salamun ala Ibrahim. So again the same pattern, Kadhalika najzil muhsinin, and again, thus we reward those who do right. Innahu min ibadina al-mu'minin. Verily, he was one of our believing servants. So Ibrahim and Nuh are mentioned in the same way here. A few other prophets are mentioned, Ishaq, Musa, Harun. Musa and Harun are also given that same greeting. That's in verse 120. Salamun ala Musa wa Harun. Inna kathalika najzil muhsinin. And verily we reward those who do right. Innahuma min ibadina al-mu'minin. Verily both of them were of our believing servants. So again, the same pattern is being repeated. Next we have a personality which has not been mentioned thus far, and that is Elias. That's in verse 1, 2, 3. So they say, "Wa inna Eliasa laminal mursalin," and verily Elias was of the mursalin. In Yasin, in the previous chapter, we hear innaka laminal mursalin. So here Elias is of the mursalin. So Elias speaks to his people and tells his people very uniquely to leave al-Baal. Baal is one of the false gods, and they rejected him, and the same greeting is given to him in verse 130, which says Salamun ala al-Yasin, which is very interesting. Al-Yasin is almost like the plural of Alias. So here Alias is a description of something rather than a name. Again it continues, Inna kadhalika najzil muhsinin. Verily we reward those who do right. Innahu min ibadina al-mu'minin. Verily he was one of our believing servants. Next, Lut is mentioned. That's in verse 133. Then Yunus is mentioned. That's in 139. And Yunus, I think it's very important to note that Yunus is one of the personalities who gave up on the cause. And the story of him giving up on the cause is here in verse 139, all the way to verse 148. And here, why is this particular narrative mentioned here? I suppose here because this chapter seems to be on a very confrontational level, as we can see from the introduction. So here perhaps Yunus is one of those personalities who felt that he was unable to take the struggle and he gave up temporarily. However, God redeemed him, and here we can see that God caused to grow over him a tree which gave him that nourishment which he needed to continue his mission. Right, so at the end of this chapter we see that it reminds us again of the goal of this entire struggle, which is Allah. It says, "Glory be to your Lord, the Lord of honor and power." He is free from what they ascribe. So it's Subhana Rabbika Rabbil Izzati Amma Yasifun wa Salamun ala al-Mursaleen, and peace be upon the messengers. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, and praise be to Allah, the Lord of the worlds. So the closing is almost like the opening of Al-Fatiha. Perhaps we can even see this as like connected to Al-Fatiha in that way. It could be an expounding of Al-Fatiha even. So here we have come to the end of chapter 37, and inshallah tomorrow we will be doing chapter 38 Sad and chapter 39 Az-Zumar. Thank you very much for staying with us all this time, and inshallah we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.